Okay.
There we go.
Springtime.
That's a pretty red mill fish.
Red mill fish. Look at us.
Loaded with eggs.
Hey, I'm Bob Murray. I'm here with Kirk, Delaware Valley Outdoors. Stay tuned. I think it's going to be a big one. Woo! Son, that's a nice one.
Yes, it is. On the spinnerbait.
Delaware Valley Outdoors, your best source for fishing information on TV, radio, and the internet.
Hey, I'm Bob Murray with Delaware Valley Outdoors. I'm down here with my good friend Kirk Van Brandt from SNK Guide Service. Kirk invited me down. Said, Bobby, come on down to Delaware. Got some good springtime, well actually good all year round fishing, but springtime fishing. And we come down, the weather's not been too kind to us, but then again,
When is it, right?
when is it on our show? Kirk, tell us a little bit about the springtime fishing you have here in Delaware and what we're doing today.
Well, if we're fishing in Delaware, most of our places we're going to take you are smaller lakes or ponds. So, biggest one, like the one we're fishing today here at Red Mill, it's only 200 acres. So, it's not like you're on a massive body of water. We're not fishing some huge lake or reservoir. Spinner baits, rattle traps, your basic springtime lures. You're working them in lily pads that are just starting to come above the surface. We're working some wood on some drop-offs. Biggest thing, we're dealing with water that's 50 degrees, so sometimes it can take a little longer to catch the fish, but if you're patient and you stay in the right areas, you can manage to come up with some decent fish.
Yeah, most of the fish now, I mean, we're hoping to find 50-degree water today. It's got, of course, we had all the cold fronts and everything else come through.
That really slowed it down.
Typical springtime stuff. But generally speaking, you get into the 50s degree water, and then you start throwing the spinner baits and the
your rattle traps and your crankbaits. 50-degree water generally is known traditionally. That's when your bigger fish will start to hit. It's first time, most of the time, first time of the year guys get out. Don't always expect to have some of those days that you might have in the summer where you catch 20 or 30 fish, at least not at first. But this is the time of year for big fish. If I had to tell people to go out one time of the year to try to catch the biggest bass of their life, it would be early springtime. So,
right, and we're going to be finding the fish in what, a pre-spawn.
A pre-spawn mode. These fish actually really want to get going here. They'd like to spawn here in another couple weeks, and every time they start to get really aggressive, we seem to get 4 or 5 days of some cold weather, you know.
Rain.
Rain, wind. The wind is a must. All month you haven't been fishing where the wind wasn't at least 10 or 15 miles an hour, but if you know the right places to go and you're patient, you can still catch fish despite all that.
And I think one of the things you had mentioned, and I understand it, but for our viewers, is that patience in this time of the year. You're going to get 6 bites, and that's it.
Something people need to think about, when the water temperatures, like right now we're dealing with about 47 or 48 degree water, those fish don't have to eat as much as they do when you go out and it's 75 or 80 degrees. They might only have to eat 3 times a day, so if your lure's not in the exact spot at the exact right time, you might not get hit. So what you need to do is cover a lot of water until eventually odds work in your favor where your bait comes in front of that fish that's deciding to eat.
And now sometimes we get a little bit of sun here, the water will warm up.
Well, sometimes this time of year when the water's cold, a lot of guys, some people may think it's a better day to spend cutting your lawn rather than fishing, but like I said, with some patience, you can manage some fish. Okay, one of the patterns we're going to be working here today, this lake doesn't have a lot of natural cover, so what's happened to the homeowners here, they've placed a lot of brush piles off the end of their docks. Some of them are pretty big, but most of them are real small, subtle brush piles, a couple limbs at a time. If you're not feeling the brush with your worm, you want to slow down.
So they're just
the key.
the homeowners throw them out here for basically a crop.
Sometimes they'll throw their Christmas trees after Christmas, and then some guys are actually bass fishermen, and they want to catch fish off their dock. I'd say probably out of 4 docks on this lake, one out of every 4 has a brush pile on it.
What brush pile?
But they're not, they're not huge. You just want to keep that worm right down there at the bottom. Sometimes you actually have to hit the brush with the worm, and then that's when the striker comes.
I know we're feeling it, but it's a real subtle thing. You don't know, like you said, you don't know if you have a stick.
Yeah, it's not like you're fishing huge, standing timber.
Yeah.
They're just small limbs. They've, over the years, they've fallen all apart, but the fish love them. Like I said, if you look at the lake, there's not a ton of laydowns because all the houses on it. So this is pretty much the wood that these fish have. If they want to go to wood, especially in a situation, where the water's a little colder, they want to get tight into that cover. So, and it's the right depth too. If you look at the fish finder about now, it's about 4 feet, 5 feet.
And then it comes out and it drops off.
And then it's shallow in there. So they could actually be using some of these spots as a staging area because you got sand banking at the shore, and they're holding that deeper water until the water temperature gets just right, and then.
Well, will they use these to spawn into, or you just said like the coves?
Well, the major spawning area is in the cove across from us. It's a little creek arm, but some fish will, 2 or 3 fish here and there, they'll spawn pretty much all over the lake wherever there's a sandy bottom. How many times have you walked out on a lake on a dock and there's a bass right under the dock when you get there?